Thermal energy is dash. Right again. Heat energy is a valid answer. Give an example of a good driver of heat. Nice work. You chose copper and it is correct. What method of heat transfer uses fluids? Right choice. Convection is the best answer. How does conduction occur in a substance? Nice selection. Through the transfer of energy by particles colliding is the correct and valid answer. Why do we wear sweaters in cold weather? Well reasoned. To reduce heat loss is the correct choice. The sun melting the ice cream on a cone. Nicely done. Radiation is a solid answer. What instrument is used to measure heat? Bravo! Thermometer is the answer. What is another name for thermal energy? Correct. Heat energy is the right answer. Which is the best example of conduction? Clear logic. Your choice touching a hot handle and getting burned is sound and 100% true. The ability to do work or transfer heat? You chose energy, and it is correct. Which is not a method of heat transfer. Well picked. Expiration is the correct answer. Which is not a way that heat transfers. Strong choice. Saturation is the right answer. Another name for liquid and gas is dash. Solid response. Fluid is a valid choice. Which term represents a form of energy? Excellent. Heat is a brilliant choice. Heat transfer by convection occurs dash. You're right. In gases and liquids is the correct answer. The heat from the sun on a summer day. Sharp thinking. Radiation is the right choice. Which best describes the flow of heat? On track. From a warmer object to a cooler object is the correct answer. A substance that conducts heat readily. Excellent choice. Conductor is the right answer. Heat transfer without touching is dash. Exactly. Radiation makes sense and it is right choice. Which word means the same as transfer? Well done. Move is the right choice. What are the 3 types of heat transfer? Great job. Convection, conduction, radiation is the accurate answer. Objects that more easily transfer heat? Valid point. Conductor is true. The direction of heat transfer is dash. Correct response. From hot to cold is the most accurate answer. Heat transfer through liquid and gases. Smart pick. Convection is the correct choice. Why does heat rise during convection? Smart move. Because the heated air expands and becomes less dense is an accurate answer. Dash is how hot or cold something is. You got it. Your choice temperature is right. How is heat transferred in radiation? Perfect. Through air is the correct choice. Heat always moves in which direction? Good thinking. Hot to cold is the right answer. Heat from a toaster warming a bagel. Good job. Your answer radiation works well here. Using a hot plate to keep food warm. Great thinking. Conduction is the right choice.
Dash is heat transfer through waves.
Good job. Your answer, radiation, works well here.
What is the definition of convection? Strong choice. Warm fluid rises, cool fluid sinks is the right answer. Which is the best insulator of heat?
Good thinking. Wool is the right answer.
The transfer of energy through space.
Well done. Radiation is the right choice.
What does Newton's ball demonstrate? Correct response. Heat conduction through metal is the most accurate answer. Which object produces heat?
Well reasoned. Fire is the correct choice.
Heat transfer from the sun to earth.
Excellent choice. By radiation is the right answer.
Objects that prevent heat transfer. Sharp thinking. Insulator is the right choice. Conductors are materials that dash.
Right choice. Allow heat to pass through is the best answer.
Which is an example of convection. Nicely done. Warmer water at the surface of a swimming pool is a solid answer. Heat energy always moves from dash.
Exactly. Hot places to cold places makes sense, and it is right choice.
To pass from one place to another. Solid response. Transfer is a valid choice. Heat transfer is also called dash.
You're right. Thermal energy is the correct answer.
What is a type of heat transfer?
Smart move. All of the above is an accurate answer.
Heat energy is measured by dash.
Valid point. Temperature in degrees Celsius is true.
A high specific heat means dash. Great job. It requires more energy to change temperature is the accurate answer. Heat being transferred by wind. Excellent. Convection is a brilliant choice. When does heat transfer occur? Smart pick. When there is no change in temperature is the correct choice. Heat transfer through touching. Correct. Conduction is the right answer. A heat lamp keeping food warm.
Nice work. You chose radiation, and it is correct.
Heat is transferred in 4 ways. You got it. Your choice convection, conduction, radiation, advection is right. Heat moves from warm areas to
Perfect. Colder areas is the correct choice.
when hot air or water rises.
Well picked. Convection is the correct answer.
Feeling heat from a campfire? Right again. Radiation is a valid answer. Heat is the movement of dash. On track. Thermal energy is the correct answer. Heat energy is also known as...
Great thinking. Thermal energy is the right choice.
1- are good conductors. Clear logic. Your choice metal is sound and 100% true. What does friction produce? Nice selection. Heat is the correct and valid answer. What is thermal conduction? Bravo. The transfer of energy as heat through a material is the answer. A heat lamp warming up soil.
You chose radiation, and it is correct. Energy in the form of heat.
Well picked. Thermal energy is the correct answer.
Wood is an example of dash.
Nicely done. Insulator is a solid answer.
Heat is a measure of dash. Valid point. Kinetic energy is true. What causes heat energy?
Exactly. The motion of atoms makes sense, and it is right choice.
Heat transfers from dash. Excellent choice. Hot things to cold things is the right answer. Heat always travels dash. You're right. From hot to cold is the correct answer. Heat always flows from. Well reasoned. Hot object to cold object is the correct choice. Heat is also known as.
You got it. Your choice, thermal energy, is right.
What is heat transfer? Right again. The transfer of energy from objects of different temperatures is a valid answer. Heat is a type of dash. Right choice. Energy is the best answer. Heat makes things dash. Well done. Warmer is the right choice. Heat is a form of dash. Perfect. Energy is the correct choice. How does heat travel? Bravo. From a hot object to a cold one is the answer. At steady state dash. Good job. Your answer, net energy transfer is 0, works well here. Equilibrium is dash.
Sharp thinking. When two substances reach the same temperature is the right choice.
What is convection? Smart pick. Heat transfer through rising air is the correct choice. What is radiation?
Smart move. Heat transfer through electromagnetic waves is an accurate answer.
An insulator dash. Good thinking. Traps heat inside an object is the right answer. Energy in motion. Strong choice. Kinetic energy is the right answer. What is heat? You chose a form of energy, and it is correct. How you will get all these quiz questions in PDF books format. Correct response. Contact Narayan Chengda is the most accurate answer.